My name is Matt.
My name's Colleen.
Thank you all for coming. Can we see, just raise a show of hands, who is this their first sit show?
Wow.
So just so everyone knows, the process for this show, the past couple of weeks we've been rehearsing these roasts in rehearsal. Before we started writing them, everyone shared their own personal line of where not to cross, so you know that all the jokes being told tonight are good with us. So feel free to laugh along. So yeah.
Yeah. So like when I say that Matt looks like a toddler put into a taffy puller, like it's fun.
That one was actually on my list of things you were supposed to talk about.
I'm really glad you hit puberty yesterday.
All right, we're gonna get started.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here instead of at Fun Cab. We really appreciate that. For those of you who are waiting for someone boring to come up so you can leave and go to Fun Cab, just know right off the bat that Caroline and Elizabeth are not here tonight. I would like to welcome all of our newbies here. Give them all a round of applause. You probably won't hear too many roasts about them today, not because they're new, but because they're all really boring. Except for you, Max. You're just an asshole. Max Weiner probably still writes fan mail to Louis C.K. Max looks like he's the middle step in the Animorph from Pierce to Nick. Max, you are the worst thing to come out of New York since the 2018 New York Mets. By the way, I am currently beating Max Weiner in fantasy baseball. Fuck you. Max, you're the human embodiment of scratching your balls through a pair of joggers. Moving on. Kayleen Kappas is here. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, Rachel Weisenthal is here. Easy mistake. Rachel, you are so pale. What sunscreen do you use? SPF 10,000? Chrissy, you frumpy bitch. Chrissy, you look like a Super Monkey Ball character. Will McLaughlin is here. Will, yeah, right, give it up. Will, I would roast you tonight, but I really don't want to end up on your hit list, so I'm gonna tread the waters. But seriously, kids like Will are the prime example of why bullying is okay sometimes. Young Forrest Gump is here. Oh, sorry, Patrick Daly is here. Pat looks like he goes to the emergency room more often than he goes to sit rehearsals. Pat, your personality is like if a bologna sandwich on white bread came to life. Who is next? Oh, Blake Chernin. Blake, you look like if Wednesday Addams found a dildo in the Torah. The only thing worse than reading Blake's tweets is reading Pierce's tweets. I'm pretty sure Pierce is just a few bad Java shifts away into transforming into his past self. A gangly bowl cut whose life goal is to fuck Joel Embiid and the rest of the 76ers. Cool. Guys, face it, Pierce is the ideal man. If by ideal you mean drowned, and man you mean corpse. Pierce Lockett has a passion planner sticker on his laptop, and I just think it's cute that the world's most disorganized person is trying to get his shit together. Obviously, I'm kidding. Pierce is not the most disorganized person in the world. That honor obviously goes to Emily Donegan. How is it possible to be a disorganized stage manager? You're not even the best stage manager at this school named Emily. I'm pretty sure Emily only likes me because I'm a white rapper. And I don't know what's worse, the fact that you look like a possum or the fact that you think that's a compliment. Speaking of vermin, hi Colleen. Wait a minute, Colleen, if you're here, who's smoking a joint with a bunch of high school kids behind the dumpster? Mia Shmariahu is here. Maybe she actually wrote some jokes this time. Probably not, though. Probably not. If you've ever been to a sit show and there's been no food or alcohol, it is 100% Mia's fault. Mia? Okay, great, thanks. Mia, you're as approachable as Emma Rosenthal and as funny as Alana Saltzman. And finally, Nick Wright. Nick, I love your new haircut. I'm so glad that you decided to model it after your idol, the Muhlenberg squirrel. He's totally winning that Twitter beef, by the way, 100%. Nick, I was inspired by your performance of Mr. Burns. It was just like a sit rehearsal. You just sat there, didn't care, and expected everyone to kiss your ass afterwards. All right, that is my set tonight. Now to the stage, future medical school dropout, Chrissy Nagrowski.
How am I gonna top that? I'm already sweating. If you can't tell already, this group is founded by love and affection, and this group would be, hopefully, nothing where it would be today without Mia. Mia, you really need to put a bra on before your future children will suffer. I actually don't know, you won't see it yet because I'm first and I didn't know I was going to be first, if this is going to become a roast for Sit or a roast for Mia's sex life. But I am actually writing my gynecology dissertation about Mia's vagina. There's a lot going on down there. If you turn the corner, you'll find Max, shoved up her ass. Max, I'm surprised you haven't suffocated yet from being up there all semester. If you haven't met Max, I wouldn't recommend it. He has the tone of a Little League baseball coach, but the height of a Little League baseball player. His most recent porn search was super funny comedian who paid millions of dollars gets laid for the first time. Speaking of people that need to get laid already, let's talk about Will McLaughlin. I've been told by a few that Will only takes sponge baths. I've never met somebody in my whole life with an itchy personality. Itchy scalps, lack of a scalp. Let's talk about Matt Bowen. I spend a lot of time with Matt Bowen. He reminds me of the kid's book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, but if the mouse was a genetically altered giraffe, and if the cookie was a pack of Marlboro Silvers. Matt gives off Pigpen from Charlie Brown vibes. You can't tell if his hair is wet from the shower or he just hasn't showered. And the only person who would find this possible lack of hygiene sexy is Emily Donegan. Emily Donegan, I saw one time, Matt had a hickey on his neck, and Emily Donegan doesn't give Matt hickeys to try to be kinky, they do it to try to collect specimens for some freaky serial killer shit. If you don't believe me, how many animals have you killed? I'm surprised that Matt hasn't grown an extra limb from the experiments Emily does to him while he sleeps. Also, Also, Emily Donegan, way too many fun facts for such a boring person. Having 2 fingerless gloves does not automatically give you a quirky personality. It makes people at the park think that you're homeless. Quirky and homeless. Colleen? Colleen, I don't know your major or your last name, to be frank, but after that last set that you did, I'm pretty sure that your brain is made out of scrambled pet ashes. But I would like to thank you for taking off your garlic necklace so that our resident vampire, Pierce Lockett, could be here tonight. Pierce only went to Muhlenberg so he could have a good underdog story for the inside cover of his memoir. And Blake is only friends with Pierce so that she always has inspiration for her sad poetry. Before I go, I just want to say, Pat, thank you so much for traveling from your pasture to be here tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys, I love you.
Hey guys. I apologize if my voice is a little hoarse or I cough. I've had a bit of a sore throat, and I've hocked up so much mucus I could fill up a swimming pool. It's been bad. Anyway, I didn't really write any roasts. They were very hard. I found them to be very hard. So rather than a roast, I kind of just told it. I'm going to tell you guys a story about one Pat Daly. Now, Pat, you may know as one of the most, if not the most charming and dashing members of the SIT community. Right? Let's have a hand for Pat. But behind the scenes, this could frankly not be further from the truth. Let me give you some background. When I was first accepted into SIT, I was but a wee boy. I was filled with hope and naivete, and I could not wait to work with these extremely talented, handsome people. And I sat down in the first meeting, and I sat down right next to Pat, and I said, "Oh my God, you're Pat Daly. You're a legend. I'm so honored to work with you." And Pat, that steely-eyed devil, he turns to me and he says, "Bitch." I said, "What?" And he says, "You heard what I said. Bitch." Now, I was so confused. How could Pat, Muhlenberg's sweetheart, turn out to be such a sour chunk of coal? But the injustices did not stop there, folks, because Pat rules SIT with an iron fist. He's a fucking monster. I'll tell you, one time we were in the middle of rehearsal, right, and we were hashing out jokes as we do, and Pierce tells one of his hilarious anecdotes about Java Joe. He tells another one. They never get old. They're so funny, and he tells it, and the room is in uproar. It's hilarious. No one can stop laughing. And we're laughing for hours, on and on. But then we see Pat, and he has the stone-cold face of a general in combat. And once everyone starts to notice, you'd see that Pat is not having any of this. And the room starts to die down a little bit, and it gets tense. It gets real tense. Then suddenly Pat jumps up from his chair, and he rushes right towards Pierce, and he towers over him. Pierce is trembling. He pisses in his pants. Then Pat clocks him across the jaw, and Pat falls down. Pierce falls down. Pat picks him up by the collar and shows him off to everyone. And he says, "Let this be a lesson to anyone who fucking dares try to be funnier than me, Pat Daly." Got a little awkward after that. It got really awkward, but Pat, his injustices are not only during rehearsal. he's an asshole outside of rehearsal as well. One time I saw Pat in the D hall, and you know how we have that napkin board there where you can write suggestions? Anyway, I saw Pat put one up there, and this is what he wrote. He says, "Is this Muhlenberg dining or a gulag? Can't stomach this pig shit they dish out here. I want to have a word with the amateurs in the kitchen so I can string them up and beat them like a piñata. Cleveland style." Now, Pat, you wrote that. What did you mean by Cleveland style? What is that? Of course he's not going to give an answer. You can see right there he's seething over this and being exposed. What I'm really trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that Pat Daly is an asshole. And that's all I got.
Yeah, how great was the world's dirtiest Q-tip? Up next, we have someone we're all afraid of, Diet Pierce. Pat?
I wrote one roast for you. And it's like short. That was a fucking fever dream. I don't know what that was. I'm slightly aroused. Alright. Let me try to rein it back in. I'm gonna do roasts. Alright, we'll start with the new guys. How you doing, Max? Alright. I don't really know Max, and I'm willing to bet if you took away his hair and colorful jackets, he wouldn't either. I haven't seen it happen yet, but Max is definitely the type of stand-up comic to bomb a set and then be like, fucking PC culture. God, this is gonna be so fucking anticlimactic. Will has a kind of Seth Rogen thing going on. And that he's not really funny, but it takes a while to figure it out. Revenge. Where's Rachel? I've known Rachel for a few months now, and she's definitely planning something. It's either a surprise party or a triple homicide. And either way, I want no part in it. Chrissy, you seem nice, I don't know. Matt's funky, right? On paper, the discrepancy between the way Matt presents himself and the reality of what he does and says should be so goddamn interesting, and then he starts speaking and you just can't care. Colleen, pay attention. Not like now, but in general. Colleen's laugh is so goddamn fake. Which is nuts, because 90% of the time, it's directed at her own jokes. Someone's gotta do it. I'm just shocked you understand them. Mia is the president of SIT, which is fun. It's kind of like being a manager of a Chili's. In that you're somehow more pathetic than those below you. Nick Wright. Why does Nick always sound like he's doing a really half-assed impression of Nick? Cheer up, things ain't so bad. And Blake, calm down, things ain't so good. I want you both to come together in Emily's cold, detached middle ground. I do wish that I had as much confidence in myself as Nick has confidence in the fact that nobody's going to recognize his recycled sit material, though. That would be. And speaking of baseless confidence, Pierce Lockett. Pierce Lockett is like what I'd have been if I had never been bullied. I know that sounds ambiguous, but it's clearly bad. Pierce, how can someone be so self-aware and still be what you are? I recently heard someone ask Pierce about a trip he took recently, and he quickly responded that it was ostensibly fun. Then muttered a bit and said, "I can't even recall." All unironically and in a 21st century American accent. Also, Pierce, you constantly telling everyone that you went to Catholic school is like Colleen constantly telling us that she's going to be late for rehearsal. And that one look at either of you would have told us that. On the flip side of that, Matt, you should tell more people that you went to Catholic school. That is much needed character development. All right, thank you. That's my say.
I just want to tell you guys that Pat wore Vans that were split down the middle for months. When I asked him why, he said shoes are expensive. I said duct tape isn't. And then I found out he drives a Range Rover. So, up next is the only guy who sleeps horizontal in a wind tunnel. It's Max.
Colleen, everyone. Hey now, Roastmaster. Colleen, I'm fucking petrified of you. So I'm not gonna say anything about you, just so that there's no possibility of me hearing that god-awful fucking laugh of yours. And you know what? While we're at it, how about another round of applause for Matt, our other Roastmaster? Come on. Didn't you guys love seeing Matt on TV telling you to donate to St. Jude's? What a lovely boy. Oh, but Matt, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. Because no one works harder at their comedy than you do. No. And no one works a harder dick than Mia Shmariahu. Hello, Blake. You know, Blake is mean to me. It's fine. I'm not gonna be mean back. It's pretty shallow. I was always told, you know, never judge a book by its cover. I was always told. But Blake, if I had to compare you to a book, it would be Mein Kampf. No one actually wants to read you. We just want to know what happened. But Blake, you give off a more depressing vibe than an animal adoption commercial. Which is surprising and ironic because in the last Sit Show, Blake actually did a set where she said that people compared her to her dog. And I can't believe you'd embarrass your dog like that in front of a group of people. Terrible. And Blake, my God, what is with the 7,000 tweets a day? No one gives a fuck, Blake. People ignore your Twitter more than your parents ignored you as a child. But seriously, Blake, thank you for taking time away from masturbating to werewolf transformations to be here tonight. I really appreciate it. Oh, wait! Blake, before I leave, let's talk about that fucking voice. Jesus. You're at a roast. Blake, you sound like you're talking through getting waterboarded. I mean, your voice is just so raspy and pitchy and... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm confusing it with Nick Wright's last Song Cycle performance. I'm sorry, guys, I messed up. Nick, I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? I hope you forgive me just like you forgave God for making you look like that. Chrissy is somehow here. You know, Chrissy, you're a rare breed. And it's a good thing the Trumps hunt those Chrissy is actually a pre-med student, and she's studying to become a gynecologist. But she's been having some second thoughts lately because she figured that if she wanted to stare at a pussy her entire life, she'd marry Pierce Lockett. And Pierce, now that I have your attention by having better hair than you, I was gonna go after you after I destroyed Blake, but I hate seeing you two together. You two as a duo are worse than George Bush and Dick Cheney. But Pierce, you urban scarecrow-looking motherfucker. I'm sure most of you recognize Pierce from his tight pants. And I think, Pierce, the only reason you wear tight pants is to prove that your comedy is compensating for something. It's a tiny dick joke. Will McLaughlin, the fuck was that? Really proves you're the ass hair on American society. You know, Will and I are both new in Sit, and I think we're having a good time, Will, right? Yeah. But Will, judging by the looks of you, a good time means having sex with your cousin. And you know what's funny? Will actually reminds me of that homeless guy with the beautiful voice. Not the voice part, though. Just the homeless. Thank you. Rachel Weisenthal is also new in Sit, mainly because she bribed people into thinking she's funny. Rachel is such a Jewish ginger that she identifies as a leprechaun. Doesn't Rachel remind you of that kid in Polar Express who was like, "Do you know what kind of train this is?" Pat Daly, what are you, man? You look like a can of Budweiser got divorced. You know, Pat asked me to apologize on his behalf. The tired look on his face is from staying up watching the Ted Bundy tapes for inspiration. Pat, actually, in the last Sit show, he killed. You know, why don't we give Pat a round of applause? Last Sit show, he killed. And by that, I mean he killed his family and fled to the show to flee the police. But Pat, I think you left your stepkids at the airport, so you should be on your way. Emily Donegan is here with original hairstyles by Michael J. Fox. Emily, you look like if Coraline shopped at Urban Outfitters. And last, but oh certainly not least, Mia, the president of this group. Round of applause for Mia. She does great things. Mia's sex stories are so unfunny that I can't tell if I'm listening to a joke or watching the R. Kelly interview. Mia's vagina. Yes. Mia's vagina can fit so many wieners in it at one time that it doubles as my family's vacation home. But I know I've been a little mean up here tonight, but being a part of this group has been really fun. You guys are all really good at what you do. To the seniors, I'm gonna miss you. Even you, Blake. And to all the underclassmen who I get to work with in the coming years, I'm nothing but excited. Thanks, Pierce.
Up next is the quietest person on campus.
Bullshit.
It's Rachel. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna start with some positivity after Max. So Matt, you're doing a great job hosting. Emily must be so proud of you. Not that you can tell, the only thing that cracks Emily's rusting bitch face is the adrenaline rush they get from setting abandoned buildings on fire. Emily looks like if a praying mantis cut their own bangs. Not that anyone in Sit is particularly gorgeous. I mean, Nick Wright, for example, who is gone, hello.
character. Anyway, take Nick Wright for example. Somebody's got to say it. Nick Wright has a 5 head. And Mia gets head from 5 people. So everything, man, you guys are both gone. Oh, it's a twofer. Anyway, okay. I'll wait. Thank you. Okay. Everything you need to know about Mia Shmar-Yahoo is in her last name. First of all, she's Jewish. Second of all, she'll let you shmar her Yahoo anytime. As long as there's at least 5 other people involved. You know what? I'd like to amend my previous statement. Not everyone in SIT is unattractive. I mean, look at Pat Daly. Pat Daly. That boy is like a tall glass of lukewarm milk. Speaking of things that are bland, Blake. Blake has a collection of quirky thrift store finds which she uses in place of a personality. Meanwhile, Colleen has the wardrobe of a lesbian park ranger and the laugh of your future mother-in-law. Hey, Chrissy. Chrissy looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid. But if you lost your Cabbage Patch Kid behind the bed for 3 years and it emerged years later with abandonment issues. Hey, Max. Max reminds me of when people put sweaters on their dogs. It's like, stay with me. It's like you have a dog. It's an average dog. There's absolutely nothing special about this dog. There's a litter of 20 dogs that all look exactly like this one, and all of them act like they single-handedly discovered music. And to try to make the dog a little less painfully average, you put a huge puffy coat and some rainbow sneakers and a comically large Rolex on it. I mean, a sweater. It's still just an average dog that says things like, well, actually, and okay, but have you heard his first album? Like every other dog, but now it has this special Rolex that Daddy bought it. I mean, sweater, to distinguish it from other dogs. I'm really glad we got this podium up here tonight. Last time we did a show, the stage lights were making it so you could see everyone's junk through their jeans. I myself am still recovering from being forced to look at Pierce's dick for all 30 seconds of the set. Which is a full 25 seconds longer than his last sexual encounters. You know when you hear someone say that they hooked up with someone and you're not sure what hooked up means to them? Like, someone will say, oh yeah, we hooked up all night long, and mean that they made really aggressive eye contact across the room at an ATO party. Well, when Mia says hooked up, she means anal, so. And that's my set.
Okay, Rachel. So, I just want to let you know that sometimes when I hear your voice, I don't know if it's you or a mouse trying to get me dressed. Rachel, I know you have a secret, but please keep it to yourself. Will, you sound like you're setting up a joke, even when you're finishing a joke. Will's from Long Island, which surprised me because I thought he was from the TV show Frasier. Chrissy says she's pre-med, but her Birkenstocks with socks and weird need for attention say otherwise. We have no way of knowing whether or not Chrissy will be the best doctor, but we know she'll be the raddest. Now, Pat, I'm not saying that Pat's the kind of guy who will just snap one day and commit a heinous act of violence, but I'm certainly very nice to him just in case. Max, I just want to let you know they do sell shoes in your size. And then, if you guys were wondering, Max's hairstyle is not a choice. I thought it was. It turns out his hair is just trying to get away from his mouth so it doesn't have to hear all of his shitty impressions and movie opinions. Matt, you're the kind of guy I see at a baseball game and I ask him if he got separated from his parents. And this is just constructive. It's time for a haircut.
Keep it long.
Thanks. Emily, cool that you cut your bangs. I know everybody mentioned that before. I think it's really awesome. But you don't have to do it on a moving tractor. I would describe Emily's style as a snappy grandpa and a Shih Tzu named Princess at the same time. Nick, I don't believe Wisconsin exists and you can't prove it. Nick has an incredible energy and presence about him. I mean, every time he walks into a room, you just can't help but stop and look, like stop what you're doing and look at him. Because he showed up late with an iced coffee. Blake was one of the first friends I had in college. What a mistake. Blake's jacket, her aforementioned denim jacket that she embroidered herself, looks like if a NASCAR driver was sponsored by Hot Topic and literary zines. I've had the pleasure of hearing Blake throw up. Every time Blake vomits, it sounds like she's yelling into a toilet. Every time Blake talks, it sounds like a toilet is yelling. Me is the kind of girl you don't want to take home to your parents because she'll probably try to fuck them. Now, we all know Pierce wears tiny pants. But what you might not know is he has them specially ordered from the American Girl doll store. I've always wanted to I've always wanted to beat Pierce up like a lot of you. And the reason that I haven't is not because I think that he'll win or land any punches. I just really don't want to see him cry, like ever. And that's all I have, and now it's... Well, we're not gonna wait for you to finish. Okay. Up next is another serial killer from Wisconsin. It's Nick!
Everyone. Woo! Let's get it going. Time to turn it up. Chrissy said she thought I was in Fun Cab and she was confused about why I was here. The only thing I don't like about Fun Cab is the fundraising part. The only charity I do is being in this group. Like I said, we've got Chrissy Nagrowski here. Chrissy is a boring prude. Next. Will something or other is also here. I'll give you my Will impression. Rah, 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 rah. Trickster Ted Bundy. Rah, rah, rah. Snafu. Rah, rah, rah. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Rah. Hello, Pat Daly. Pat Daly looks like the photo on a Spirit Halloween costume for a beatnik. Rachel Weisenthal is also here. Oh wait, Rachel? The Nitwits I think are in GQ Annex. Rachel speaks like she's auditioning for that part in Pitch Perfect. No, but really, Rachel looks like such a fucking nerd. Like she looks like she actually reads books. Or like she's been actually trapped in a book for the past 75 years. We've got Max Wiener with us here today. Max, I'm so glad you could pull yourself away from daily vlog number 874 to join us for an hour. No, seriously, Max gives me such bad male YouTuber vibes that my cat is locked up in my house right now. Max is really going for that, like, hype beast look. I think that's what the kids are calling it. I think he should be going for the height beast look. Matt Bowen is here as well. Look at Matt. Matt keeps cigarettes in the front pocket of his Transformers lunchbox. Matt also jerks it to the picture on the front of his Transformers lunchbox. But really, I'm here for the seniors, of course. we've got one of our roast masters, Colleen Gurnier. Don't let her fool you. She's the most normal, weird person I've ever met. What she doesn't want you to know is when you strip it down, Colleen is a white girl in a sorority that wears Birkenstocks and loves dogs. And she puts on all that other shit so you don't realize. Emily Donegan's also here. Hope everyone has their mumps, measles, and rubella vaccine. Emily, you don't smell like a skunk, but for some reason you just remind me of one. Emily also looks like they exclusively listen to Glass Animals and also Glass Shattering. Tonight we have a very funny comedian who is known by their curly dark hair. Blake Peebles is in the audience today. No, really, Blake Turner is somehow on stage with us. Blake has this cool, gravelly voice. By that I mean it sounds like she literally eats fucking gravel for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The noises that Blake makes oscillate between the low hum of a refrigerator and a piglet eating nails. Somehow I've learned to tune all of them out. Mia Shmariahu, head fool, orchestrator of this shit show. Mia's smarter than your average media comm major. That's it. Someone's gotta say it. Mia wasn't cool until she went to the psych ward. I associate Mia with the Long Island Railroad because she's from Long Island, and also because she's had guys running train on her since 1834. Mia has blanked more blanks than blank. You fill it in, I don't know. Really, why is this bitch always in a heeled boot? All I can think of is Mia, a certified close yeller, coming up to me and saying, "Heeled boots stay on during group sex." Finally, Pierce Lockett. I know him well. He's got a lot of problems. Pierce is the gayest straight man since Freddie Mercury was slurping loads at Live Aid. No, really. Between his love of me and the famed gay poet Frank O'Hara, I haven't seen a straight man so passionate about gay men since Mike Pence. No. Pierce doesn't want to use like electrotherapy on all gay men, just like maybe one special one. I know Pierce loves poetry, so I decided to write him a poem. Roses are red, love is controlled by Cupid. I know you only use big words because you're cripplingly afraid of someone thinking you're stupid. So to recap, Colleen, snooze, Emily, sickly, Blake, a narc, Mia, stupid, Pierce, a wash-up. Thanks.
Next to the stage, if you ever feel like getting mansplained to about basketball, Frank O'Hara, or French politics, ask Soy Boy of the Month, Pierce Lockett.
Quiet down. Thank you very much, guys. To say I didn't see this coming would be a lie. I love to be here among so much hope and so little talent. Delightful experience to be among peers. I wore tight pants, but at least this time you can't see my whole dick, which feels like an improvement. Matt, for those of you who don't know, Matt likes sports. Pretty cute. Matt says he's an ally, so you know it's all lies. When's the last time you heard the phrase, "I'm a feminist and I'm from Rhode Island"? Matt looks like if Charlie Brown and a pile of pipe cleaners got together and decided that improv was a good way to not get bullied. Give it up for Pat Daly, everybody. Pat speaks like he's hiding something, and that something is an extremely hairy penis. I feel like I fundamentally understand you and that we both have probably pissed ourselves in class at some point, and it marked our personalities ever since. Still, Pat is pretty funny for looking like he survived the first Civil War. Max, I know this is your first year doing comedy, but generally the punchlines come after the setup. I don't know if that was like communicated. No, I'm just kidding. Even though you look like you start every morning by putting your hands on an electric fence, you're all right. Although I will say that you give off the vibe that you're one Joe Rogan podcast away from going full flat earth skeptic. Chrissy, is that your real name? What's your real name? It's not Chrissy. Did you choose that name? What a shame. I feel like you gaslighted me into being your friend. One day you auditioned for this group, and the next day you're telling me how I should reorganize my backpack. Stay in your lane. You talk to me like the younger cousin at Thanksgiving, dressed desperately trying to get at the big kids table, and you're not getting in. Rachel, I was having a hard time coming up with mean things to say about you, but I must admit your politeness makes me uneasy. You seem like you both overtip at restaurants and yet spit in your own food for the flavor. You look like you have an apple tree, but you only eat the seeds. Give it up for Will McLaughlin, everybody. Yeah. Will sounds like he just discovered what talking was. Will's an efficient guy, I've come to learn. He uses a 4-in-1 bathroom product. The same for his toothpaste, for his shampoo, for his body wash, for his conditioner, and that one thing is Hellman's Light Mayonnaise. All right, let's keep going. Blake, what's great about being friends with Blake is that you learn so much about how to be so loud and as wrong as possible all the time. Much like Blake's relationship to gluten, Blake's interest in having skills is an allergy, not a preference. If you haven't, Blake sneezes like a very small man, making very small gun noises. If Vineyard Vines and Four Loko had a daughter with a dependence on irony and nicotine, Colleen would be it. I'll be honest, guys, I've never seen Colleen in a classroom. I don't even think she goes here. I think she's 35. I've known you for 4 years, and I still can't tell if you're on uppers or downers. When you laugh, I can't tell if you just farted or if you planted a bomb under my chair. I know people say this all the time, but the economy sucks. Mia worked for a sex podcast for free. You're not quite ha-ha funny. You're more like, oh no, is that legal funny? Unlike most of you, I have not had sex with Mia, though I imagine it's like an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where everyone thinks they hate each other and nobody comes. Emily got a nose ring in college and decided to be extremely mean from then on out. We both studied abroad in Paris, but I'm pretty sure that they just sat on a park bench for 3 months and then left. You look like you have an ant colony and know all the ants by name, but you probably won't speak to me after graduation. Tant pis. And lastly, give it up for everyone's favorite side piece, Nick Wright. Nick's dream job is to be a try guy without having to try. Nick has been my roommate for a while now. When Nick and I lived in Taylor for a semester, it was a lot like waiting for Godot. All the theater majors didn't get it. We never went anywhere, and nobody ever came. Thank you very much, everybody.
The next comedian was instrumental in founding the MCA. What does that stand for again? Mia's Catastrophic Accident? Strap in, everyone. This one's gonna be rough. Mia Shmariaho.
Hi, guys. Guys, really stellar roast roast of me. I can totally tell a lot of thought went into the 3 jokes that you guys recycled 20 different times. So original about sex. I love it. So for this roast, Nick specifically told me that he didn't want me to roast his monotone voice, how he's gay, and how he never writes jokes for sit because he didn't think it would be funny. But that proved to be extremely difficult considering those are the only 3 things that are remarkable about him. No, that one was definitely a cop-out. So let's do some more. At some point last semester, Nick realized he could do an impression of a Nick Kroll character, and that's been his personality ever since. But at least he's been bearable since then, right? I think he developed that personality around the same time that Pierce started jerking off into his Frank O'Hara book. So it must have been rough for your roommates. All right, so we all know that Blake can't eat gluten because she can't digest it or whatever. But doesn't she seem like the type not to eat gluten because of a Twitter thread that went viral? I do feel bad roasting Blake, though, because the Jews of Sit need to stick together. We do, right? Yes. But if you ever think that all Jews are the same, please just compare me to Blake. I'm an example of a Jew that had friends in high school. Blake is an example of a Jew that did not have friends in high school. And if you were wondering, Rachel is an example of a Jew that didn't have time for friends because she was too heavily involved in a cult that her father was the leader of. And Max is an example of what happens when your only friend is your mother and she doesn't even want you listed as her friend on Facebook. But like, doesn't Max look like his parents love him too much, but they don't love him enough? Oh, by the way, Max, I hate to break it to you, but I've been watching a lot of comedians in cars getting coffee, and Jerry Seinfeld is pretty sexist. Oh, wait, that's probably why you like him. I'm pretty sure you only need to talk to Max for 5 minutes to grasp the depth of his mommy issues. I must bear a lot of similarity to his mother because he's constantly seeking my attention and I'm always disappointed in him. He's the same to Colleen, though. He really looks up to her. But on that note, I've been hearing a lot about like Colleen being really cool from these people, so let me put something in perspective for you. Freshman year, Colleen was in SIT, MIA, and played rugby, right? And she still rushed a sorority because she had no friends. But at the same time, I really wouldn't be surprised if we were all just collectively hallucinating Colleen together. As someone who has had a mental breakdown in college, I can tell you that Chrissy will have a mental breakdown in college. I was a little afraid to roast Chrissy tonight because she seems so fragile. Do you know she raises her hand in SIT rehearsals like a little bitch? Oh shit, Pat! Oh my god, I forgot you were on stage. That's crazy, I forgot you were in this group actually. To this day, I'm not sure if Pat auditioned for this group or if he just started showing up at every 3rd rehearsal and performing at two shows. I think he performed at 2 shows? About there, yeah, 2 shows. All right, in over 2 years. And as we all know from the extremely repetitive jokes about my sex life, I do have a lot of sex. I must admit, however, that there is no amount of money that you could give me to sleep with Will. Now that's not because he always looks like he just stuck his finger in Pikachu's asshole. No. It's more so because out of everyone in SIT, he definitely seems the most likely to skin and eat me after sex. Except for Pat. Okay. Oh, by the way, Emily Donegan looks more like Matt Bowen than Matt Bowen does. This one is gonna involve some audience participation, okay? Yeah. So who here saw Pierce's dick through his pants at the last show? Now who here liked what they saw. And that's it. Thank you.
Y'all, I'm shit-faced. Let's see how this goes. I met Chrissy at least 6 times before I saw her real face. It's been so nice getting to know your real eyebrows and true skin tone. And for a while, I also couldn't tell if Chrissy was gay or just a stagehand. Max was let into this group almost purely on the power of his moxie. It certainly wasn't his jokes. Max, you say the words type 5 a lot for somebody who has not demonstrated he knows what they mean. Also, I'm just gonna say it, Max has huge school shooter energy. Roasting Will just seems redundant. Rachel, I saw your tits before I ever had a one-on-one conversation with you, and somehow I still want to cover your ears when someone says a dirty word. Listening to Rachel talk is like hearing a church mouse run a phone sex line. Pat, you look like a daguerreotype from the Civil War. Pat Daly is indie early 90s boyfriend from the waist up, library pervert from the waist down, and once literally almost ran me over with his blue BMW. What does that equal? Somebody please fucking tell me. The longer I've known Matt, the less of his face I've seen because everything around it is just like encroached. Matt has the energy of a former youth pastor who did like a lot of good work, but then got fired for bumming cigs off of teens. So there's this like, really like, one of like the stories in our institutional memories. Like our very first show, we had food, and we had this one pan of chicken fingers, and there was some fucking guy who took the entire pan, ate it that night, and then threw up in Prosser. Colleen heard that story and went, I think I'm gonna date that guy for the next 3 years. Colleen got a Muhlenberg grandpa baseball cap freshman year, and that's been it ever since. I don't think I've ever seen Colleen blink. Colleen has a mouth full of fake teeth because, and this is an exact quote, I tried to bite down on a peach pit to see if there's anything inside. Worth knowing? Nick Wright talks like a balloon being slowly deflated. Nick, you are the only person capable of engendering beef with the Mullen squirrel. Nick has the energy of a high school junior who paints their nails during physics class. And Nick slouches everywhere, but definitely rounds up his height on his Grindr profile. Emily Donegan, the only person on campus identifiable by backpack. Emily has had every possible kind of hair while I've known them, but they always end up defaulting to Molly the American Girl doll. And you can tell that Emily does technical theater before you ever talk to them. And I feel like if I tried to touch Emily, my hand would just pass right through their body. Emily, you look like you can talk to birds, but refuse to out of spite. Long Island is the worst part of New York, and Mia Shmeriahu is the worst part of Long Island. Mia went to a single sex party and hasn't talked about anything else since. So Nick says that Mia wasn't cool until she went to the psych ward. I didn't trust Mia until she went to the psych ward. Sounds like a bad vibe. All right, the rest of these are all about Pierce. So this wasn't pre-written, but it is true. I can tell you for a fact, pre-Pierce, I'm shit-faced, Pierce used his poetry reading cadence to do his roast tonight. All right, I would say that Pierce is the kind of guy to exclusively jerk off to the writings of Susan Sontag. But in fact, I once saw the Pornhub logo under his most visited websites of his phone, on his phone browser, so guess not. Yeah, Pierce is like really smart. He's asked a lot of great questions in his college career, but the one he's asked me most often is, does it look like I'm going bald? Pierce seems like he's considered spitting in everybody's coffee every day he's worked at Java, and that every day he's chickened out, and every night he berates himself for not defying capitalism. I've had so many people approach me to express concern about Pierce's health. One of my roommates recently came up to me and goes, every time I see Pierce, he looks more and more gaunt. Pierce makes dead Victorian children look vivacious. Pierce looks like he's made of ancient parchment stretched over a frame of wire hangers. And by the way, Pierce picked up a smoking habit in Paris, just in case you were worried he'd ever had an original thought in his entire life. Thanks, guys.
Give it up one more time for Blake Chernin. And now, since our last comedian loves to share fun facts about themselves, I would like to share one fun fact about them. Emily Donegan wears socks during sex. Ladies and gentlemen, Emily Donegan!
Hi. So, about 19 years ago, an unsuspecting woman left a piece of Gouda in her fridge for just a little too long. That unsuspecting woman became Will's mom, and that piece of Gouda became Will. Will's deodorant is still in his middle school locker. Will is also still in his middle school locker. I'm gonna spoil something for you right now, Will. You don't pee out of the vagina. And I'm gonna spoil something for you, Max. You don't pee in the vagina. Now, I'm not gonna give Max too much attention because I know that's exactly what he wants. But I'll just say this. I know it smells nice and it's a pretty color, but Max, you're not supposed to eat chapstick. You can tell almost immediately that Nick Wright is from Wisconsin, not from his annoying accent, but from the fact that he walks like he has a corn cob shoved up his ass. They're ribbed for your pleasure. Nick tells so many jokes about being gay, I'm not sure I believe him anymore. Nick has the energy of a supervillain's evil hairless cat. And when that cat talks, it's voiced by Nick Kroll. James Bond, we meet again, and you got bangs? Pierce, you carry a lot of books around for someone who can't read. The reason Pierce likes basketball so much is because he used to be one. You wouldn't think so by his scrawny appearance, but Pierce is actually kind of ripped. It super comes in handy when he sees a still puddle of water and has to reach in to bitch slap his reflection. I once implied that Pierce didn't moisturize regularly, and by the way he reacted, you would have thought I peed on Frank O'Hara's grave. Speaking of literary icons, who here likes fan fiction? So great news, everyone. We finally found out who the author of My Immortal is. She's here with us tonight, Blake Chernin. Or as I like to call her, a cockapoo with a yeast infection. Blake does her eyeliner in Sharpie because if she didn't, she'd cry it off immediately. You know that Muhlenberg is a predominantly white institution because they let Chrissy Nagrowski into the gospel choir. Chrissy, I love you, but can you just give up this doctor thing? We all know that your one true calling is to be a low-level operator in a pyramid scheme. Unrelated, but Rachel, have you ever thought about starting a pyramid scheme? I feel like you've got what it takes. Pat Daly's here, which is more than I can say for most sit rehearsals. But Pat, while I have your attention, I just wanted to really commend you on your performance in O War. When they kicked you off that rocking horse. That was some really powerful acting, and it's a story that we need to hear right now. Mia, marry Rich. If TikTok had existed when Mia was in middle school, she'd be in jail by now. Mia's the type of person to say my eyes are up here, which is pretty bold from someone whose nipples are constantly challenging me to a staring contest. And they've never lost. Speaking of staring, I've only seen Colleen blink once, and her eyelids closed vertically. Colleen doesn't wash her hands after going to the bathroom because it makes her scent a little more appealing to the street dogs she hangs out with. Colleen loves dogs like a man in a white van loves children. She offers them treats on the street so she can touch them, and she's got a lot of pictures of them on their phone that they don't know about. But let's not forget about our lovely roast master, Matt Bowen. Every time Matt showers, a pig gets its wings. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that Matt needs a haircut, but what you guys don't realize is that he's actually growing it out for a pretty good reason. He's gonna get white dreads. But don't worry, you guys, he's not totally socially unaware. When Matt was a sophomore, he stole 8 supersized tampons from his mom to put in his stage management kit. What have you guys done for women recently? Anyway, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you everyone so much for coming out. We are Sit. Have a great night.